Joining us now is Annisa Group President Edward Goldberg. Ed is also the author of a new book, A Joint Ventured Nation, Why America Needs a New Foreign Policy. So that, of course, covers a lot of ground. But let's get right to this trade war, because I want to start with this. I was in China covering the Belt and Road Forum on April 26th.
Right.
President Xi came out and gave a speech. 3/4 of the way through, he started talking about he was going to help lead the world toward all these things. And all the things he listed were things on that trade deal agenda that the U.S. was asking for. 10 days later, on May 5th, President Trump tweets out that China has backed away from the deal and he's going to put on more tariffs. What happened in that 10 days?
You know, I think what happened was that politically, Xi looked at it and said, hey, this deal is against China's national interest. Because the deal Trump wanted Xi to make was basically philosophically saying, China, you have to slow down your growth as a country of the future, because we want that space.
Now, why do you say that? I have to stop you right there. They asked them to not steal intellectual property, or not asked it. That has to change. A complaint that both Japan and EU have joined in on.
Totally so.
There's other things there that, are you just interpreting this a bit too much? Is there nothing legitimate in what the U.S. is asking China to do?
No, absolutely there's some legitimate things. I think Kathleen, we have to look at it a couple ways. One is China a competitor of the U.S. or an enemy? If it's a competitor, it's a good thing. Because as we know, the reason a competitor is Amazon working 24 hours, 7 days a week to beat Apple, right? Competitors make growth. But if an enemy, and if we say, China, you can't grow anymore because you're coming into U.S. space, was the problem. So yeah, part of what Trump is saying is correct. China's played fast and loose with some of the rules. China has stolen intellectual property. China made a data agreement with Obama and then didn't live up to it. All true. But then the Trump people went beyond that. And was going on to China's industrial policy. And it was like China coming into the United States and saying, hey, you shouldn't be capitalist anymore.
How about Huawei? Did the U.S. go beyond there? Because, of course, Huawei says, well, we're a perfectly innocent telecommunications and technology company, and the U.S. has rallied the Five Eyes alliance against it as some sort of pseudo-spy agency. So where does Huawei fit into the picture?
Okay, well, Paul, basically, I think that came into a picture, I think it's a very good point of yours. One, we never got exact information from the government whether Huawei was doing bad things or good things from the U.S. government. So that's still out there. And of course, the U.S. government's trying to convince the Europeans that they were doing bad things, but the Europeans haven't bought that yet. But one thing, when Trump then started to attack it as part of the tariff war, it was like if China would have attacked one of our first-class super companies like Google or Apple. And it really brought the war up to a new point.
So how does the heat get turned down then? I mean, we've had our expectations managed around this potential meeting that hasn't even been scheduled yet at the G20 in Osaka. Could that be a circuit breaker, even if it's symbolic? Where do we go from here?
I didn't get your question, I'm sorry.
Well, I said, how does this resolve? We've had our expectations tempered around the possible meeting that hasn't even been scheduled at the G20 in Osaka. Would that be a potential circuit breaker, even if it was just symbolic?
I think things are moving very quickly politically. And as Kathleen said, Trump is now under a lot of pressure. We just saw these, quote, stolen polls from the Trump campaign. And it's a disaster for him in the farm states, totally because of the trade war. He then has the economy, as we know, looks like it's not going to be as golden as it was. And Trump's going into an election. He needs to possibly soften this. Plus now he has the pressure of Iran. So it's all very much tied into it.
Okay, so what needs to change? Because you could see also pressure on China. This is not good for China's economy. They say they can go on another long march and withstand it, but they don't think this is so good. Either the Hong Kong uprising, whatever you want to call it, this is also something putting pressure on the president of China, presumably. What does the U.S. have to change? What will the Chinese accept? Because it seems you're saying U.S. can't get everything they want. However, China also is going to have to agree to certain things. What's the deal that's going to make it?
My sense is, and this is totally sense from an academic perspective, okay, not speaking to anyone in the trade negotiations. My sense is that it's going to be like the NAFTA deal. It's going to be basically papered over. My sense is there's going to be a little more opening for U.S. corps in China, a little bit more opening on the U.S. banking interests, and papered over. It's in Xi's interest right now to paper over it also because of what you said about Hong Kong. It appears to me that Hong Kong is more of an immediate threat to him than the U.S. trade war. Hong Kong threatens the legitimacy of the party directly, threatens control. Hong Kong brings up all the history of what's China, what's not China. Hong Kong's a major problem at the moment.